Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Ritmo Mundo Quantum watches. There are 3 different versions of the watch, and each of the watches come in a dazzling array of colors. So this is an example of each of the Quantums. There are 1, 2, and 3, and there's 2 versions of 2. So let's just talk about what you're seeing here. So Ritmo Mundo is a brand which has been around for a little while, and they have a lot of different types of models, and they kind of, hot for a while, and then they were a little quiet, and now they're trying to come back in a way which with this product, which I think is interesting. Now let's let's just back up for a second. This is what I would call, I don't want to say fashion watch, because this is actually not a fashion watch. This is more of a fun watch. These, they use Swiss quartz movements, pretty bold designs, interesting things. This is a watch when you want to have fun, but you're not really interested in wearing, I guess you could say, a traditional classic, conservative timepiece. Like if you're trying to compare this to a Patek or a Rolex or something like that, not that these are priced the same, those watches are going to win in those categories. But when you're thinking about fun, stylish, colorful, there's appeal here. And whereas I do love my mechanical watches, I do love my classic conservative timepieces, I think there's room for stuff like this, because let's face it, you don't always need to be so serious. But then again, you might be the type of person that sees these types of watches, and there's weird stuff like this one with this kind of asymmetric design, which is half and half, or this one that has this one blue strip, and here it's black. Of course, the same model is actually available with double blue or double colored, and then here's one example where it's double. It's also available in all black if you want. There's a slightly smaller size version here. You might see these and be like, I would never wear that, and some people are thinking that's pretty cool. Would I wear this all the time? Probably not. Once in a while, for the right color and the right model, yes. This one probably not, simply because this is a little bit too out there for me. This is the Quantum 3, and it's 50 millimeters wide. The bezel does not turn, and it's meant to look like basically 2 watches in an interesting way here. And I think it's done for what it is. It's done it's done cool. So you see Ritmo there is kind of raised up, and those are the hour indicators. And this is all carbon fiber here, and it's real carbon fiber. It's well made, actually. The fit and finishing is good, and so for what it is, it's a cool watch. But it may not be the watch for you, but it's definitely out there and avant-garde, and for that I appreciate it. You even have here two little teeth there for the buckle, and they're different sizes, which is kind of nifty. Just a cool little design element. And there you have it. This version, the Quantum 3, of course, it comes in other different colors. So if you don't want orange, I think there's a purple one, there's a black one, there's a green one, there's a blue one. So there's different color versions of each of these. Now, again, this is probably the most avant-garde out there model. If this isn't your type of thing, I understand you. I get it. This is strange, but it's kind of cool strange. For the right person, I think it's just kind of a wild out there type of piece. Okay, so that is the Quantum 3. So then there's the Quantum 2, and this is the smaller version, basically. So this is basically a smaller version of the Quantum 1. This is 43 millimeters wide. This is actually probably the most wearable one. And what's funny, this is supposed to be called the rose gold version, but this color actually looks like bronzer, like women's makeup, like a bronzer, more than rose gold. But if this color isn't your thing, which I don't blame you, there are definitely other versions as well. So this is the Quantum 2. It's 43 millimeters isn't exactly tiny, but this for me is the most wearable because it doesn't really go off the wrist there. You have a chronograph, you have the date, and there's a lot of handsome detailing that went into it. So I have to, even though the design is something which I could say is an acquired taste, you have to be able to appreciate some of the detail in there, like on the chronograph pushers there. That is really nice, and the dial is legible. A lot of little things going on there, and again, the fit and finish is quite good. So then you have the Quantum 1, and there's 2 versions of the Quantum 1. There's the fancy one, and there's a slightly less expensive one. So this version of the Quantum one is basically just the larger version of this one. Again, it has its own colors available, and there's different flanks here, color flanks options. But this is just basically a larger version, and this is 50 millimeters wide, and so you can see that the difference there. Again, it's not unwearable, but it's definitely a larger watch at 50 millimeters. The sort of cream of the crop is this version of the Quantum one, 50 millimeters. What's different about it? Well, basically a lot more dial details there. You can see it's a multi-level dial. There's carbon fiber there. It's really just sort of an upgraded dial. That's basically the only thing. And then there's certain upgrades in terms of the way the case is done. So you can see that you have these screws here in the side, but this one doesn't have those. It's a little bit different in the way it's designed there. So again, it's not really that one is better than the other one, but there's a little bit more detailing here, which makes the dial a little bit more unique. So let's put this Quantum one on the wrist to see how big it is. And again, it's a big watch, but like, you want this to be a big watch. You want this to be bold and very viewable. And so for the type of person who's more interested in the look of their watch and having something unique, this is the way to go. If you are a mechanical watch junkie, chances are you're just going to dismiss this. But I think for the right demographic, this is an interesting design, and it definitely has grown on me. Like, at first I was like, that's weird, but you know, it's modern, and I think there's a lot to be said about the design in terms of it being kind of just something that's cool and fun. I mean, really, those are the two words that come to mind, because, you know, sometimes I want to take a watch very, very seriously and be like, yes, this is the ultimate modern military watch. And other times I just want something that's a little bit out there and kind of ridiculous and colorful. And I think there's a lot to be said about the Quantum when it comes to that. So I think this is actually going to be successful for the right demographic. Traditional watch lover, probably going to see something here that isn't really to their taste, and I understand that. But for a lot of other people, I think this is actually quite an appealing collection, assuming you find one that fits your lifestyle. Price range for these models ranges from about $895 to $1,195, and you can read more on aBlogtoWatch soon. Thanks.